The NBA keeps sleeping on Jeremy Sochan, and it's about to cost them. He's not just another role player lost in the shadows of Victor Wembanyama and the Spurs' young guards. At 6'8", Sochan has built his identity as one of the toughest and most versatile defenders in the league. And yet, he still hasn't gotten the recognition he deserves. Everything about Sochan is different. 17 hairstyles, a one-handed free throw routine, even a song about him with millions of views. But behind all that personality is a player whose game is just as unique. He doesn't gamble for highlight steals or chase blocks recklessly. Instead, he suffocates scorers by staying glued to their hip, contesting every look, and making life miserable for anyone who dares challenge him. Ask around. He's already considered a top 5-man defender by people actually watching closely. Take his matchup against Anthony Edwards. Score tied, the Timberwolves star goes one-on-one. Sochan bodies up, forces the miss, then immediately recovers to swat Edwards' second attempt. That's not luck. That's instincts, discipline, and sheer willpower. Or look at him sprinting back in transition, getting crossed twice, stumbling, but still recovering in time to block the shot off the glass. Plays like that don't just stop points, they change momentum. And here's what casual fans miss. Sochan isn't just defense. He thrives as a cutter, lob threat, and offensive rebounder. In a league obsessed with threes, he gives his team second-chance opportunities that swing games. Last year, when Wemby floated outside the arc, it was often Sochan crashing the boards to keep possessions alive. Spurs fans know this. They call him their glue guy, their Rodman-like energizer who does the dirty work without playing dirty. The truth is, Jeremy Sochan might be the most underrated young player in the NBA. If his shooting form continues to improve, and he's already fearless about taking shots, the league should be terrified. Because once his offense catches up to his defense, San Antonio won't just have a future superstar in Wemby. They'll have an unshakable defensive monster standing right beside him. John, kyatum chate, if you want to see the real definition of versatility, just look at Jeremy Sochan battling Ivica Zubac in the post. Zubac spins off him, and honestly, 99% of the time, that's a bucket. But Sochan recovers in a split second, stretches with the outside of his right hand, and smacks the shot away. Remember, Zubac was one of the best post players in basketball last season. And here's a 6'8" forward who not only survives on the block against big men, but can also slide out and guard Marcus Sasser on the perimeter. That's not just defense. That's a weapon. This is what makes Sochan special. His frame, his strength, his lateral quickness, and his refusal to quit on plays. It's why fans compare him to guys like Jaden McDaniels or Herb Jones. He's got that same disruptive presence, the kind of defender every contender in the league dreams of. And when you put him next to Victor Wembanyama, the length, the switching, the rim protection, it's terrifying. That's a defensive core that could anchor a title team for years. But here's the catch. The question isn't whether Sochan fits with Wemby. That's actually the easy part. The bigger problem is the fit next to the Spurs' trio of guards, De'Aaron Fox, Stephon Castle, and Dylan Harper. 2 of those guards were high draft picks. That means the organization is going to prioritize them, and when you already have a shooting problem as a team, playing another non-shooter in Sochan complicates the puzzle. That's where things get tricky. Because while Sochan isn't known as an offensive superstar, those same physical tools that make him elite on defense actually shine on the other end too. Watch him when Zach Collins gets the ball at the elbow and hands it off. Sochan barrels downhill, lowers that shoulder into Julius Randle's chest, then extends around him to finish with finesse. That's not a role player's move. That's a two-way athlete imposing his will. Or take this possession. Swing pass comes his way. Sochan drives left, spins inside, and rises into a soft jumper. Pure skill. And then there's the full court press against Jerami Grant. Sochan doesn't panic, keeps Grant on his hip, hesitates just enough to freeze him, blows past Simmons, and throws it down with authority. That's the other side of Jeremy Sochan. He's not just a defender who locks down stars. He's a versatile forward who can rebound, push the ball, finish through contact, and attack mismatches. If his shot ever stabilizes, he's not just a fit question. He's the kind of player that makes other teams regret ever doubting him. Jeremy Sochan has always been different. Not just because of the 17 hairstyles, or the one-handed free throws, or even the viral moments that keep him in NBA conversations. What makes him stand out is how he plays the game. At 6'8", with a frame built for chaos and control at the same time, Sochan is carving a lane in the league that's nearly impossible to copy. And this past season, that growth finally started to show. Statistically, Sochan took a huge leap forward. He shot nearly 10% higher from the field compared to last year, and the improvement wasn't random. Most of it came from one key area, the rim. Both his volume and efficiency finishing inside went up. He was stronger, smarter, and more aggressive about using his body to attack defenders. Plays that used to look like wild experiments now turned into consistent buckets. He's proving that when you take advantage of physical gifts and sharpen them with skill, you can become a real problem on the floor. But let's be clear, Jeremy Sochan is not an offensive superstar. At least not yet. He can finish through contact, spin into soft layups, and power into defenders for tough baskets. But extend that shot just a few feet away from the rim, and suddenly the picture changes. His touch outside the restricted area is limited. He can hit the occasional jumper or floater, but it's not reliable. And in the NBA, when you're not a shooter, especially not a mid-range shooter, defenses adjust quickly. Unless you're Giannis, who can bulldoze his way to the rim every possession, you need a few more counters to force respect. That's the next step for Sochan. Developing just enough outside scoring to keep defenses honest. Because if he adds even a serviceable floater or consistent hook, his offensive game could jump to another level. And here's where it gets interesting. His offense isn't only about scoring. You might remember the infamous Point Sochan experiment, the moment when people labeled him the worst player in the NBA and even accused him of sabotaging Victor Wembanyama. But those takes were lazy. The truth? Sochan was playing point guard for the first time in his entire basketball life. Not in AAU, not in high school, not in college. For the very first time, Greg Popovich handed him the keys. Of course, it looked rough at times, but there was a reason Pop tried it. The vision is there. Watch him freeze a defender on the wing, step inside to draw help, and then kick it to an open teammate in the corner. Or when he runs inverted pick and rolls with Wemby. Suddenly, he's the ball handler creating mismatches, forcing defenses to scramble. Those flashes showed that as a pure point guard, Sochan isn't ready. But as a forward with secondary playmaking, those same traits become a strength, not a weakness. That's why his development excites coaches and fans. Now, let's be honest about the elephant in the room, the shooting. In a perfect world, every NBA player can shoot, but that's not how basketball works. And right now, Sochan is one of those players who simply doesn't bring consistent spacing. He doesn't have to be Steph Curry, but on a Spurs team already loaded with guards like De'Aaron Fox, Stephon Castle, and Dylan Harper, all of whom thrive inside the paint, spacing matters. If those guards don't collectively improve their outside shooting, then Sochan's limitations could make him the odd man out. But here's the twist. Spurs fans have seen this before. The off-season workout clips, the smooth shooting forms, the string of practice threes. We've watched Ben Simmons and Mitchell Robinson sink shot after shot in empty gyms, only to crumble in live games. So yes, nobody is celebrating summer workouts. But here's the difference with Sochan. His form actually looks cleaner now. Quicker release, smoother rhythm, less of a hitch. You can see he's been working. And while practice clips don't guarantee results, they do show intent. He wants to improve. He's not running away from his weakness. He's attacking it. And even without the jumper, his value is undeniable. He's the kind of player who embraces dirty work without playing dirty. The guy who hustles for offensive rebounds, giving his team extra possessions that shift momentum. The glue piece that ties lineups together defensively. He's underrated in every sense of the word. Just ask Spurs fans who call him their Rodman with skill or the gold mine. They've seen the impact, even when the national spotlight hasn't. Pair that with Wembanyama, and you're talking about a defensive duo that could terrorize the league. Wemby's length covers the rim, Sochan erases wings and guards on the perimeter, and together, they make every possession a nightmare for opposing offenses. That's not potential. That's already happening in stretches. The only question left is whether the offense can rise enough to keep him on the floor in every situation. Jeremy Sochan is still just scratching the surface. He's not polished, he's not complete, but he's fearless, versatile, and improving in all the right areas. If he continues to build on his rim finishing, tightens up a floater, keeps sharpening his playmaking, and stabilizes his jumper, the NBA won't be able to call him underrated much longer. They'll be forced to admit what Spurs fans already know. Jeremy Sochan isn't just different, he's the kind of player who can change the game. Word count.